honey.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
We have eternity to know your flesh.
Piss your pants. Said piss your pants. I think we just picked up Dracula.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
You go right on your...
Stay when you're down here with me. You lump soul! My family's always been in me.
The whole family of Draculas.
So, horror movies, man, it feels good to do another one of these. For those that listened, I said in the update that this summer we were going to camp. And the first camp we are hitting is Camp Arawak, better known as Sleepaway Camp, or Nightmare Vacation for our UK listeners. Oh. Hi, UK listeners, I now know you exist. I know a few people who love this fucking movie, but there is only one person I considered for this episode. He hates horror movies, but this one is on the list of 3 that he likes. He's the other half of Superchantastic and 1/4 of PodVanDam, Ed.
Hi, I do love this movie a whole lot. I think I did. I did. I don't know. We'll get into it.
You did? Oh, you might not anymore?
I don't remember. Okay, so we watched this movie. Like, I have an affinity for it because we watched the movie a lot when I was in high school, right? And we thought it was super fucking funny. Yeah. And now, as a 34-year-old man, I'm not so sure that it's funny. Like, I know the B movie parts, like the bad effects, everything, like, it's funny, but there's some stuff in it where I'm like, oh, that was funny when I was 16, and I don't know that is so funny now.
Sure. No, I get that. I 100% get
but
that.
I guess that's the deal with, like, 80s movies in general, right? Is from what I'm hearing. It's just, like, they were all kind of problematic.
Right. Well, and we'll get to that. There's obviously you can't talk about Sleepaway Camp without talking about the storyline that runs through Sleepaway Camp. And there are people with a lot of differing opinions on where this movie lands as far as if it's problematic or not. We'll get there. But Ed, did you ever go to camp?
Fuck no. My parents are poor. We were poor as shit growing up. No way. No, we didn't even go on vacations.
So I was poor too. I did go to camp though.
Okay.
But I went to Boy Scout camp.
Okay. Yeah. See, if I was a Boy Scout, I would have done Boy Scout camp.
Yeah. So that was like, I think $100 or some shit to like go camp for a week in the summer. But so there are little things about this where I'm like, well, that's sort of what camp's like, but I never went to like a co-ed camp or like that whole world is weird to me that it exists. It seems like a very northeast kind of thing that happens that I'm unaware of.
It reeks of Vermont.
Sort of. I think it also kind of reeks of like Jersey.
You think?
Like yeah, like Jersey and upstate New York. I feel like summer camp is a thing that a lot of like New York people do where they're like people who live in the city are like, I'm sending the kids away to camp for the summer. They can be around things that are green and not in the city.
My only knowledge of camp comes from like media like this.
Right.
But also, I know there's no way you remember this because you're older than I am. There was a reality show on the Disney Channel in like 1996 and 1997 called Bug Juice. That was like the real world, but it was kids at camp, right?
Oh, okay.
So I kind of know what between Salute Your Shorts and Bug Juice, I got a feel for what summer camp is. It should be.
Well, and I think there's that thing where like camp is such a big deal, and it's weird to me so few people I've ever known have went to like this kind of camp for as much as this kind of camp is there in the media. Because there's the whole genre of horror movies that take place at summer camps between like this movie or the Friday the 13th movies, The Burning. There's just a bunch of movies where there's like, oh, kids at a camp getting killed. But then on the flip side of that, there's a bunch of movies about like that are like targeted kids movies where it's like, hey kids, here's a movie about other kids going to camp and hijinks. Like, and there's like even like the fucking sequel to The Addams Family, they go to camp.
Yeah, and that movie has my second favorite line read in all of media ever.
Yeah?
Yeah, when they're doing lifeguarding lessons, and that girl says, I'll play the victim, and Wednesday Addams says, all your life. That is my second favorite line read in the history of media.
That's very good. That movie's underrated.
It really is. I've never seen those movies. I watched them like within 2 weeks of each other like a month or two ago. They're really funny.
I'm really glad you like those movies. Like they are forever on my list of like, hey, do you have kids and you want them to watch something that's sort of horror but not? Have them watch those Addams Family movies.
Our 5-year-old actually got really upset during it because he, like, you don't know movie tropes and stuff when you're a kid, right? He thought that baby's head was going to get cut off by that guillotine. And he was fucking horrified.
But that's like the good kind of scared that you get when you're a kid. You know what I mean? Like, it's harmless, I guess. I mean, he might end up traumatized.
Yeah, we'll find out from these movies the childhood trauma carries through, you know what I
mean? well, it sure does. So, let's get into this fucking movie, man. So a lot of times when I'm covering the first movie from a director, I like to give a history on them and talk about the other films they've made and how they got into the business. With our writer and director on this film, Robert Hiltzik, there's not a lot to talk about. He directed a whole 2 movies ever. Sleepaway Camp in 1983 and Return to Sleepaway Camp in 2008.
Not to bury the lead, but have you seen the sequels? Because I've never watched any of the sequels.
Yeah, I've seen all of them.
Are they bad? You sound like they're not. They're not fun.
We'll get there.
Okay.
They have their charm. You would hate. Well, I don't know. No, you would hate them. So those are the only films he's officially written. They're the only films he's officially directed. He did write a draft of Sleepaway Camp 2, and he gets credits for characters and ideas on the first 2 sequels on 2 and 3. But that's it. That's all he's got. He was born in 1957. He went to and eventually graduated from NYU Film School. And while he was there, he watched people make student films, and he just felt like that wasn't going to be the thing that would get him into the film business. He decided the best way to get into the film business was to write, direct, and produce his own film. A regular Orson Welles, this guy is. So instead of going to his 3rd year at NYU, he started making this film without the school knowing it. He would turn in assignments and shit, but he didn't go to class. So because he missed so much of school, they weren't going to give him his degree. And apparently now the only source for this is Robert Hiltzik. He has his degree, so it must be true. He said his classmates ultimately said to NYU, look, you have to give this guy a degree. He made a feature film. So when he picked the movie to make, it was pretty calculated. He wasn't a big horror movie fan. Like, usually you would think if you were like going to film school, you were like an artist and you would want to make a movie that meant something to you. That wasn't his plan. He was much more into like James Bond films and action films. And I think his goal was just to like use this as a stepping stone to get to that, right? He picked horror because it had a built-in audience. And he picked the camp because it seemed like the cheapest and easiest way to make a movie. One location saved on money, and horror has that built-in audience.
It's like Kevin Smith with Clerks, pretty much, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit different. Like, Kevin Smith made a movie about shit that he cared about. You know what I mean? He made a movie that was sort of like a exaggeration of his real life working in a convenience store. You know? Where this is a film made, and we'll get to this in just a second, but a film made based on experiences that you just went, well, that would be convenient to use.
Yeah.
Because normally I wouldn't hit on the location first, but let's talk about the camp. The camp used as Camp Arawak in the film was the summer camp Robert actually went to as a kid. Camp Algonquin in Argyle, New York, on Summit Lake, which is near Glen Falls, home of Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who strangely might have a tie into this movie.
Was his brother the pedophile cook or something?
No, but I wish he was. I wish that was the tie-in. It's amazing to me that camps let horror movies film there. Like, that can't be, like, how does that help the camp's reputation? You know what I mean? Like, hey, kids, come stay at the camp from Sleepaway Camp.
That doesn't sound dope to you?
It sounds dope to me. I bet it don't sound dope to their parents who are spending all the money to send them to camp.
Fucking A, yeah, you're right. I could, like, I'm not even a horror movie dude, but if I heard like, they filmed Friday the 13th here, I'd be like, oh, that's fucking dope. Like, I want to go there.
Oh, and you can. That camp is actually owned by the Boy Scouts of America, and they were like, well, we're fucking poor, so they let people camp there a few times a year, and they do tours, and I own pieces of wood from one of the cabins. They tore it down, and I have like dice that were whittled by Boy Scouts out of the wood from the cabin from Friday the 13th. That's real. So the thing is, Robert's not sure that this camp ever saw the actual script. He doesn't remember if he showed it to them. It was 100% a business decision for Camp Algonquin. They were like, we're not doing anything with the camp for those months. And as the great Alabama Doink once said, let's make money, baby. So he actually wrote the script with the layout of the camp in mind. So for Robert, I don't think there was ever a plan that didn't include using that camp. Like, I think if they had been like, yeah, no, he would have been like, fuck, how do I make this movie now that I wrote specifically based around this camp? How much do you think it cost to make Sleepaway Camp, Ed?
I'm always really bad at this, but this movie looks cheap as shit, and I'm going to say $100,000?
Oh, you shot low.
Yeah.
The budget for this film was only $335,000, which, while that's not cheap, it 100% qualifies Sleepaway Camp as a low budget movie, even by early 80s standards.
What would that be in today's money?
Oh boy. That would probably be under $2 million, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's low budget.
Yeah. That would be, it's usually like $1 of 80s money is like $3 now. So it'd be like $1 million maybe. I don't think it would even hit 2. The budget for this did not come from Robert. He didn't just have $335,000 laying around. It came from a bunch of sponsorships, including a motorcycle company, which is why there's that weird scene outside of the one dance when they walk outside and there's just like a motorcycle there for no reason. That's product placement.
Was the other company a black background company, and that explains why all those shitty fucking flashbacks look that way?
Oh no, that was an
sell
artistic
black curtains.
That was an artistic / budgetary choice, my friend. There was also a sponsorship from 7-Up, which I think is rad because no one ever talks about 7-Up now. And there was a time when 7-Up was like big deal. Like when I was a kid, 7-Up was like a major soda. It had TV commercials. It had Spot, its little logo. They like marketed that shit. And now like 7-Up is like, hey, it's in the 99-cent pile at the fucking grocery store. Get a whole 2-liter, 99 cents.
I think the last time 7-Up was relevant is probably when I was in high school because that was the Make 7-Up Yours.
Yeah.
I think that might be the last time 7-Up was relevant. It sucks though. Have you had a 7-Up lately? Like Sprite is definitely the superior lemon lime soda. I think it's better than Sierra Mist though, but I think Sierra Mist is actual trash. I think it's trash water.
I do not. I can't drink Sierra Mist. If my options are not drink or drink Sierra Mist, I'll be thirsty. 7-Up, I think I could still drink, but yeah, it doesn't. 7-Up sort of. I always felt like 7-Up didn't have flavor. Like it was just sort of like it was sort of like general citrus flavor, but I'm not sure what that flavor was. The other nice thing about horror movies is you don't need an expensive star for the film to be successful, and this movie certainly did not have a big star. The casting for this movie was handled by Michelle Tatosian, who was also a producer on the film. And the big thing that they went into this with was they wanted the kids in this movie to look like kids. They wanted 14-year-olds playing 14-year-olds. And for the most part, that is what happens. There is a weird dynamic in this movie where it seems like there's like an older group of kids and a younger group of kids. But overall, all of the kids in this movie are kids playing kids.
Which you have to have for there to be a pedophile cook. It just doesn't work.
Oh my goodness, we will get to the pedophile cook.
I don't even remember him. That blew my mind because in my brain I have no memory of the pedophile cook.
How do you not remember the pedophile cook?
It just didn't. I don't know. I just don't know how that didn't stick with me. Because, like, this is the first time I watched this movie in probably, like, 5 or 6 years.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about the cast right now, of which the pedophile cook is a member. That guy, this was his only film. And what's crazy is, like, everybody, like, in all of the commentaries and all of the interviews that I've read, according to everybody, he was like a really nice dude, but also like super smart and just sat around reading all the time and was apparently like everybody thought of him as like being a really good actor. So I don't know what went wrong. Probably maybe that he played a pedophile in Sleepaway Camp and people were like, well, no.
It's a hard role to get typecasted, you know what I mean?
Right. Like, how would you like to be a pedophile in this movie? No. I can play a lot of other stuff. Like, can I play something else? We have this role for a pedophile. Yeah.
I can't. Never mind. It's too far. I can't.
Well,
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Nothing is too far, Ed.
Oh, no, man. It's because you're not the one saying it. I'm good.
All right. So, Angela is played by Felissa Rose.
Isn't that your friend?
No, that's Felicia Rose.
Is that where she gets the name from?
I think, maybe. I don't know. I think Felicia Rose is actually just her name.
No shit. That's a shoot, huh?
I think.
I don't want to put talk with her.
I don't want to put anybody's personal business out on the fucking.
I want to talk with her. Felicia, you work in one of the only businesses where you get to pick a new name. You too, Stacy, by the way. I think the same thing about you. Could have picked a whole new name.
Yeah. She works in multiple businesses where you could pick a new name.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, she's not out there throwing her fucking full government name around like I am. I'm just a moron. So Felissa Rose plays Angela. Felissa very much had a stage mom. When she expressed an interest in acting, her mom was all fucking in. She ended up with an agent that got her 3 auditions. Those auditions were a Tide commercial, an off-Broadway play, and Sleepaway Camp. In her audition for Sleepaway Camp, she was asked to eat a candy bar and stare at the director.
I mean, that's about the role.
Yeah. She was only 13. She was one of the youngest cast members, and because of her age, her mom stayed on set with her at all times. She also made some demands for the way things were shot that she felt were not appropriate for young Felissa. So her career starts with Sleepaway Camp, right? First thing she does. And it pretty much stalls. Go figure, right? She does an episode of Scarecrow and Mrs. King in 1985, and then doesn't act again until 93.
What the fuck is Scarecrow? What?
Scarecrow and Mrs. King was a shitty 80s drama. The 80s were full of bad dramas. Scarecrow and Mrs. King is one of them.
You know what else happened in the 80s?
What's that?
Mr. Belvedere accidentally sat on his balls and they had to shut down shooting for a couple of days.
Did he now?
Yeah, people don't talk about it a lot. It's definitely not a meme at this point.
I've never seen it. That's a meme?
Oh, there's this guy on Twitter who, like, he's either a comedian or a writer or a comedy writer. Either way, he's got a lot of followers. And anytime he can work it into conversation or a tweet, he'll tell you about how Mr. Belvedere sat on his balls once and they had to shut down shooting for a couple of days.
Wow, your Twitter is so much different than my Twitter.
I think
vastly different.
I think, and this may get somebody to a couple people shut off the podcast. I'm sorry for it, Stacey. I think Dana Donnelly is the one who retweets this guy.
Jesus Christ. Don't bring that hate to my show, Ed.
Oh,
don't bring that on my show. Come
Stacey,
on.
Let's do a new Sleepaway Camp starring Dana Donnelly.
No, I don't want to do anything starring Dana Donnelly. I don't like Dana Donnelly. I don't get like mad about it like other people do, but I don't think she's funny. All right, so in between 85 and 93, she finishes school and she actually ends up going to acting school with Adam Sandler.
So this is where I know it's a lie, because there's no fucking chance in hell Adam Sandler went to acting school. I've seen his movies.
I know what you mean, but yeah, he did.
What did they teach him to do a slow adult character that he does and everything?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't go to that acting school with him, but she did. And they were friends. And they actually ended up doing an MTV show together called the Party Phone series. So her acting career had been, what it was. She did some stage acting too. In the early 2000s, she starts taking a lot of parts in low-budget, straight-to-DVD movies. She does a fucking lot of them, including Return to Sleepaway Camp in 2008. Right now, Ed, she has 5 films listed as completed and not yet released, yet another 16 films in post-production, and 7 that are currently filming, 14 that are in pre-production. She has more films about to come out than she has done in her entire fucking career. She's also a regular on Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In on Shudder.
Oh, that's that thing you and Thor tweet about a lot.
Yeah, it's real good. I don't know how you don't know who Joe Bob Briggs is. That's like a 90s thing that I feel like you would know, like Monster Vision and stuff.
I mean, there's a good chance that I do. It's just a repressed memory that I have, like, hasn't been dug up. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
I think today, did you see me tweet about how somebody retweeted Diesel on Wienerville?
Yes, and so let's talk about how I don't know what the fuck Wienerville is.
Oh my god, Wienerville is like the show Mark Wiener did for Nickelodeon, where like every character was his big giant head and a little puppet body. Like his head, it wasn't a puppet because it's his head doing the characters, but then the bottom, like from the neck down, is a puppet.
Yeah, I saw the clip.
Yeah, that's it. That's the show. What you saw is it. I think Mark Wiener was like a comedian at the time, and they gave him a show. But like, I watched Wienerville all the fucking time.
Yeah, I have no memories of that. So maybe that's like that same thing where like that wasn't on my radar and fucking Monster Vision wasn't on yours.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an insane amount of movies to have. Like 16 in post-production means she's filmed the shit and it's just sitting around having the rest of the shit done.
She must be taking like a lot of one-day shoots. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like small
for sure.
parts. Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure. Yeah, take a thing where it's like, oh, come in and they'll pay me $1,000 or whatever to come in for one day and shoot.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of that, I'm sure. So yeah, that's Felissa Rose's career arc. That's Angela. Jonathan Tierson played Ricky. And so Jonathan also went to acting school in New York City after being in Sleepaway Camp. His audition was also fucking strange. He was just asked to yell at the director and tell him off.
Which is the character. We're laughing, man, but like these are pretty great auditions. Like this is.
I feel like the guy was onto something. Like so many auditions are just like come in and read a monologue, but the director like knew what he needed out of these kids, so he was like, "Okay, sit and look weird, and eat a candy bar. Perfect. You yell at me, tell me I'm an asshole. Sweet, hired."
And that little kid was fucking good at telling people off too. He called those boys with the water balloons cocksuckers and pricks. Told me he's gonna fuck them all up.
Yeah, I mean, there's some strong energy with the Ricky character that I love. So Jonathan Tierson also went to acting school with an SNL alumni, Molly Shannon. So that's a weird thing where like, oh, both of these people from Sleepaway Camp went to acting school with SNL people. His acting career was put on hold though in the 90s because he decided he wanted to concentrate on a music career. So I guess he was a fixture in like the Greenwich Village folk scene in like the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And then he moved to Fort Collins, Colorado and opened a bar, which he eventually sold to then again focus on his music more.
Fort Collins is fucking dope. I've been out there. It is a nice ass place.
Yeah. I understand leaving New York City to go to Fort Collins. Makes total sense. So, yeah, he's been in a bunch of bad bands from what I could tell. I didn't listen to any of them because a lot of their music is pretty much impossible to find. But he has a current band that he is in, and that is a thing he's still doing. He's also been in a bunch of cover bands, I'm sure, just to make money. His return to acting was also in Return to Sleepaway Camp in 2008. And while he has continued acting since then, it's been nothing close to the output that Felissa has had.
Yeah, you should hook up with her agent.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if those two want to use hook up. You'll see.
Oh no.
So Mike Clellan played Mel. So while for a lot of the kids, for Jonathan, for Felissa, this was their first film, it was the final film for Mike. He was one of the few quote-unquote stars that was cast in this movie. His career started way back in 1950. He does a lot of television on shows you've never heard of, like Man Against Crime, Mr. Peepers, and shit like the Goodyear Playhouse and the Lux Video Theater. He was in episodes of Inner Sanctum, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Then in the 60s, he does Have Gun Will Travel and the Untouchables TV series. He works more with Hitchcock. He does an episode of The Twilight Zone. But his biggest films didn't really come until the very late 70s, early 80s with Midnight Express and The Jazz Singer and then Sleepaway Camp. But he unfortunately passed away from lung cancer in August of 83.
I've seen Have Gun Will Travel.
Yeah?
Yeah, my dad is like a big cowboy fan, so I've seen a lot of westerns. And Have Gun Will Travel is definitely hilarious. I don't think it's intended to be. I think it's super funny, though.
Oh, it super wasn't intended to be funny.
Yeah.
It also gets a reference in Stand By Me, which I'm sure you've never seen.
No, I've never seen Stand By Me. I know enough of it though to get references from it. Like, doesn't a kid get leeches on his dick or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry O'Connell's fat in it.
He is.
Yeah.
Trimmed up, that man.
I love Jerry O'Connell. You ever? I'm stoned, so this is gonna be rambly. Have I ever told you about what Jerry O'Connell did to Shia LaBeouf?
No.
Okay. Do you remember when Shia LaBeouf did that art exhibit where like he rented out an art space and when you went in, it's just him sitting at a table, like in a suit with like a bag over his head?
No.
So that's the thing Shia LaBeouf did, and that was it. That was his art piece. And like when somebody took the bag off his head that like sat across from him and he was crying under it, right? So Jerry O'Connell rents the art space right next door and does an art exhibit where he's sitting at a table in a suit with a bag over his head. But when you pull the bag off, he doesn't shut the fuck up about all the movies that he's made. And he gives you a copy of Tomcats before you leave.
That's fucking amazing.
So, like, I don't know if I've ever really seen a Jerry O'Connell movie, but forever, like, I would love Jerry O'Connell just because he was, like, went to fuck with Shia LaBeouf because he was bored and gave out free copies of Tomcats.
I fucking like that a lot. I like Jerry O'Connell because his episode of Cribs is, like, top 5 Cribs. Because he talks about how somebody died in the swimming pool outside of his shitty apartment. To me, the only good episodes of Cribs are when somebody lives in like a really normal or shitty place, or the Yin Yang Twins.
Yeah, like Marilyn Manson's guitar player. That Cribs episode I remember because he just has a ranch style home.
Yeah. He's like, I have a house. Come on in. Here's my very normal home.
Do you think Marilyn Manson's seen Sleepaway Camp?
I would be very certain that he's seen Sleepaway Camp.
Fuck him. He's a scumbag.
I
I forgot he was canceled. I forgot to.
But here's the thing.
Don't worry, Stacey, I saved it for us.
This show isn't about that, but like, how did people not know that he was a scumbag? Like, he wrote a whole book 15 years ago about how he was shitty. Like, none of this stuff was new. All you had to do was read his shitty book. And you would have known, like, oh, he's an abuser.
Dude, I liked when all that happened, because it sucks. He's a horrible human being. But I liked when all that happened and people were like, yeah, I bet you all feel embarrassed. Like, your moms and dads were right. And it's like, no, our moms and dads thought he was the literal Antichrist, so they're still wrong. He's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's just a shitty dude. Like, they also, like, R. Kelly, it's same thing. You know what I mean? Like, parents weren't like, R. Kelly's ruining the kids. Whatever.
This movie probably ruined some kids.
I bet it did.
Nice way.
And one of those kids, Karen Fields, she plays Judy. This is her only film.
And her audition process was be a bitch.
So there wasn't a lot of there's not a lot of her talk about what she did for the movie. The thing is, this is her only movie, but it's not her only work. She worked on The Simpsons in season 1 doing kids' voices.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, she was also not the original choice for Judy. The original choice for Judy was Jane Krakowski from 30 Rock.
No shit.
Yeah. But Jane passed because of the curling iron scene.
Jane passed because she had to make the rural juror. Chris
Collette played Paul. Now, unlike many of his co-stars, Chris had a lot of work in the 80s. Sleepaway Camp was his first film. His second film was Firstborn, which was Corey Haim's first film. They became really good friends, and Chris Collette was actually a pallbearer at Corey's funeral. Chris did a lot of TV, including one spots on like Cosby Show, MacGyver, LA Law, Silk Stockings. He also did a lot of voice work in shit that you might be more into than the normal shit on here. Yeah. He was a voice on Ultraman Tiga.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. He was also Umbra and Johnny Steps in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
He did various voices on Sonic X and Pokemon.
Okay.
And he was the voice of Duke in G.I. Joe Sigma 6, which I'm sure you don't care about.
So I can tell you who he worked for based on like 3 or 4 of those cartoons.
Oh, really?
He worked for 4Kids.
Okay.
Because Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and one, I forget what else he said. They were all dubbed by 4Kids. I think Ultraman Tiga was dubbed by 4Kids too.
Yeah, as soon as I saw Ultraman Tiga, I was like, oh, Ed's going to dig this.
Yeah. I've been watching a shitload of Ultraman this week. They've been playing on that Pluto TV channel like all week long.
Man, Pluto TV is the best and worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like, so much good shit, so many badly placed commercials.
And their search function doesn't exist.
No,
sucks.
not at all. But it's free, so, I mean, you can't really bitch. So, Catherine Cammie, I think I got her last name right, played Meg, M-E-G. Catherine was on the soap opera All My Children while she was filming Sleepaway Camp. So she was another one of the stars the film had. And to Felissa, she was a star. Felissa talked about how she was amazed, like, that she had seen her on All My Children, and she was like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. So excited about that girl being there. She got dropped off by limousine multiple times by the studio because they would take her from filming in New York City and drive her up to Glens Falls to film. Post Sleepaway Camp, she did some other soap opera work on Guiding Light and Young and the Restless. And she was another person who did a bunch of one-shots on TV shows like NYPD Blue, Bones, Ghost Whisper, Castle, Medium, NCIS LA. Basically, if it's a boring network drama, she's been on it.
And my mom has seen it.
Yeah. She's probably a big star to your mom.
Yeah, probably. My mom would be very excited if she saw this. No, never mind. My mom would not like this movie.
Thomas E. Vandell played Mike, and he has a weird fucking career arc. So his acting credits are short. Outside of this film, he was an uncredited theater patron in Muppets Take Manhattan. That's it.
The second worst Muppets movie.
It's a pretty bad Muppets movie.
Yep. It's not good.
He went on to become the vice president of international business at Universal Motown, where he helped break the careers of 98 Degrees, Boys to Men, Nelly, Erykah Badu, Godsmack, and Three Doors Down internationally. He also specialized in bringing new music to the Pacific Rim, including artists as diverse as James Taylor, Michael Bolton, NXS, Beck, Radiohead, Sonic Youth, Beastie Boys, and Foo Fighters.
Well, I hate him now because he helped Godsmack and Three Doors Down get famous, and that sucks. The world's not better for those two things happening, for sure. But at the same time, Erykah Badu's rad.
Yeah. Well, he helped all those people get famous not in America.
So it didn't affect me in the slightest. All right.
Nope, not even a little. Not even a tiny bit. The real star of this movie, however, is Desiree Gould. She played Dr. Aunt Martha.
Ugh. Did you say the star?
Is she not?
Dude, Stacy, were you impressed by her work?
I was super impressed. If by impressed you mean it left an impression on me, which has stuck for 30 years now. It's the weirdest acting performance of all time.
I don't even understand what, like, while I was watching it, I was just like, what direction could they have possibly given her? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even understand the emotions that are trying to be conveyed or, like, anything. Like, I understand the words she's saying, and that is as much of the performance I understand is the words that she says.
So look, I don't usually do this in these episodes, but right here, I'm dropping in just a little bit of her dialogue from the beginning of this movie.
Richard, Angela! Oh, I did. I packed you and your cousin some goodies for the ride up to camp. Wasn't that nice of me?
Any chips?
Why, of course. I believe there's a whole bag. Why, I'm almost sure of it. Angela, isn't there anything special my little girl would care for?
We gotta go, Mom. It's getting late.
Why, of course you do, dear. We wouldn't want them to leave without us, now would we? No? No, I'm afraid that wouldn't do. Come, children, let's be on our way.
Now what?
I believe that I've forgotten something. Now what can it be? Oh, I remember what it is. I knew I wouldn't forget. I just kept reminding myself. In fact, I tied a string around my finger so I wouldn't forget. See? And I didn't. You never can be too careful. Oh.
Well, what is it already?
Oh! Just a moment. I'll be right back.
Good old Mom's at it again.
Here they are, all filled out and signed by yours truly. Wasn't that nice of me?
What are they?
Why, they're your physicals, of course. We can't go to camp without our physicals now, can we? Just be careful not to tell anyone how you got them. Oh, no, I'm afraid that they wouldn't approve of that at all. Even though they know that I am a doctor.
No matter what they do, I'll never tell.
Oh, you're such a dear. Well, run along now.
So long, Mom.
Goodbye, my angel. I hope you have a good time, but of course you will. Take good care of my little girl, Richard.
Goodbye, Mom.
Goodbye, dear.
Fucking wild.
So, yeah, that's an interesting choice in acting that she's made. And if you see it, it's even stranger. So I don't know if I can blame it on her. So she tried to quit. She tried to quit and Robert would not let her quit. And he gave her line readings. And she said, in an interview that she didn't think the lines made sense. But she puts off a real Aunt Martha energy in general in life just from the interviews I've seen with her. So I don't know. But here's the deal. She was mostly a stage actress. I guess maybe that's it, that she was maybe overact. It's the weirdest acting ever.
Stage acting makes it make slightly more sense because she's playing to the back row. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which
is definitely a theater thing. But that only explains 5% of it.
Right. So obviously acting was not Desiree Gould's bread and butter career, right? Her real job, her shoot job in life was as a real estate agent. Can you imagine?
Buying a home from her? No, that sounds horrifying.
It just has to be every person that buys a house from her, on their way leaving the house they've just looked at, has to have a conversation holy shit. What is wrong with her?
I hope that these aren't acting choices and that's just how she speaks.
So, man, I think part of it is acting choices, but if you watch any interview footage with her, there's definitely that energy there where it's this is kind of her. A little bit of her came through in that, and oh boy. Playing a bit part in this movie is maybe this movie's biggest star. Robert Earl Jones, father of James Earl Jones.
Is it?
He plays Ben, the other cook.
Oh,
yeah.
My gosh. Ben is the best.
He is. His film career pales, obviously, in comparison to his son. but he was in like Trading Places and Witness and Maniac Cop 2. I think the wildest thing about him, in addition to him being James Earl Jones' dad, is that he was a boxer, and at one point in his life, he was the sparring partner of Joe Louis.
No shit.
Yeah. Now,
do you have any notes about like, because you have like, I don't know, you can find weird shit out sometime. I want to know the acting direction they gave Ben. Like, was Ben supposed to be slow?
oh, I don't know, but boy, it comes off that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't. So when you talk about things in this movie that might be like questionable, I feel like maybe just there was a real like Song of the South feel to the way that character was played that don't know about that.
So I think the only like redeeming thing about like the Ben thing is like I think more people would have a problem with it, like what you just said, if he wasn't one of like the only two decent human beings in this entire movie.
100%. He is one of the only okay people in the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of other people in this movie. There are a bunch of, like, I could go through and talk about all the kids and all the other people that were in it. Most of them didn't really have careers. Some of these people we just talked about didn't really have careers. But there is one last person I am going to mention. They were a bit player in this movie. The kid who played young Peter, who, as you know, spoilers if you watch the movie, actually becomes Angela, is Maximo Gianfranco Sorrentino, a.k.a. Frank Sorrentino, brother of reality star Mike the Situation Sorrentino
No
of Jersey
shit.
Shore fame.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
What? Huh?
The little kid on the boat.
What? Huh? Was Situation an actor then? Is this like a family thing, you think?
I don't know. I've seen no history of Situation doing anything other than The Shore. But his brother was in Sleepaway Camp.
That is crazy.
And also in a reality show about his family that I had no clue existed because I don't watch reality TV.
Well, I was aware of that.
Oh, you were aware of the Sorrentinos?
I really like Jersey Shore, so yeah. Like, I'm a pretty big fan of Jersey Shore.
I'm a fan of the actual Jersey Shore.
Oh, I've never been.
Oh, I was there all the time as a kid. It's fantastic. Love it.
So you might have bumped into some of those people.
I mean, maybe. I think I'm a tad bit older than some of them.
Maybe Mike's brother, though.
Maybe. Who knows? Lots of people on those beaches, Ed. I was a little kid. I don't know. But yeah. So add that to the list of weird fucking ties this movie has, as there's a Jersey Shore tie for Sleepaway Camp. Filming of this movie, so it's a summer camp movie, right? It was actually filmed in September and October after the camp closed for the summer.
And they're making those kids get in water in October?
Yeah. And, like, now that I know that, I can tell, and I don't know how I never noticed before, but the leaves are fucking changing in this movie.
I guess they are, yeah.
I feel so fucking dumb. After I did the research and watched this film again, I was like, how the fuck did I never notice that? Yeah, it was filmed in fucking September and October.
In your defense, Days, there's a lot happening in this film. So
yeah, paying attention to the trees probably isn't the primary shit in this movie. From day one, this movie was always one full day behind schedule, but it stayed right at that, just one day behind schedule. I actually found an image of a call sheet for day one. I know it's from day one because of the scenes that they're shooting and from listening to interviews with the director where he talked about what put them behind day one. So this movie started shooting on September 9th, 1982. And it goes for 5 weeks, ending at the beginning of October. The cast stayed at the Glens Falls Motor Court, and there were apparently a lot of parties that happened at the Glen Falls Motor Court because there wasn't a lot else to do in Glens Falls, and like even the adults that were on this set were in their 20s mostly. So that there's some stories that you could tell nobody wants to talk about. They gloss over a lot of that in any interview that I watched. For any of the partying they did, there could not have been as much partying as there had been right before they all moved into the Glen Falls Motor Court, because right before them, the Grateful Dead had stayed there for a week.
Imagine renting a place with the Grateful Dead. I would never.
Yeah. Do you like the Grateful Dead, Ed?
Like, do I like the idea of them or do I like their music?
Sure.
No to both. At all. I've heard like one funny story about them, and I like that story a lot. But I think their music's really bad.
It's the worst.
Do you want to hear the story?
Worst.
It's real. They used to travel on a van. So Max Proust and I forget the other guy's name. They're like a comedy writing team. They worked on Saturday Night Live, right? Mm-hmm. And they worked on a bunch of other shit. But while they're on Saturday Night Live, they got the Grateful Dead as a musical guest. And their wives were telling them about how like a week ago, because they all traveled together on this RV, a mason jar of acid, liquid acid spilled over and got on one of the kids' arms, and they had to like sit with this 5-year-old and coach him through an acid trip.
Oh fuck no.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Grateful Dead are awful, man. Like awful.
I think
just terrible.
They're still bad with John Mayer, but they're definitely improved with John Mayer. Like,
what?
Still bad. Yeah, dude, I think John Mayer is definitely better than Jerry Garcia, for sure.
Hold on, John Mayer's in the Grateful Dead?
Yeah, their tour now is Dead and Company, and it's the band with John Mayer on, like, vocals and guitar.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I have friends that go and see them, like, every time that they're around. They go and see Dead and Company.
Oh, God. Ugh. Well, Felissa didn't get to do any of the partying because unlike many of the teenage actors that were in this movie, her mother was there every day. Her mother also had objections to things in the filming. For one, the killer's hands were not allowed to be Felissa. Instead, Jonathan Tierson doubled as her hands and her silhouette in the doorway of the cabin.
What's the purpose of that?
The silhouette?
Oh, like her not... It's a fucking horror movie. Like, what'd she think was gonna...
I don't know. The mom thought it would be traumatizing to young Felissa, so she was not allowed to be her hands.
Jesus Christ.
And so that sparked a lot of debate over time that, like, it was done on purpose to, like, throw people off and think that it was somebody else because the hands do kind of look a little manly. And then there were also the people who said that because of the end of the movie, that it was an artistic choice to show that, like, maybe Angela wasn't Angela. But the reality of it is her mom was like, nah, she ain't fucking doing that. And so they were like, Jonathan Tierson, you look bored. Do you want to do this? And he was like, sure. The silhouette one is the one that gets me because she's literally just standing in a doorway. I don't know why that was a thing, but it was a thing. And then there's the end scene. Now, as it was done, it was not Felissa, obviously. However, that was not always the plan. There was, Ed, at one point, the idea of using a strap-on.
With the child?
Yes.
No fucking way.
That idea got far enough along that it was fucking created but never used.
Well, thank God it wasn't used. What a fucking terrible idea.
Correct.
How did it get that far along?
Ah.
How instantly when someone's like, well, we could put a strap on her, were the first words not like I just said. Well, how did somebody not say on a child? What the fuck?
Yeah. So instead they made the life cast of Felicia's face, that she had to hold her face like that too. Have you, like, you know what goes into like making a life cast, right, Ed?
Yeah.
She had to hold her fucking face like that in that weird fucking face.
That's gonna hurt your jaw, man.
Yeah, it can't feel good. So that mask, like, it looks really weird at the end of the movie, right? It looks like it was maybe like superimposed over, or like,
yeah.
I never understood how the fuck that went. But so what it was a life cast that was then made out of thin, like potato chip thin dental acrylic.
What?
With glass eyes. Yeah. And so they paid a local college kid $200 and got him drunk. And he's never came forward. No one has ever claimed the mantle of little PP Mask Man from the end of Sleepaway Camp.
So here's the thing, man. Right? Like, I'm not gonna act like I'm a Mikey Montgomery over here, right?
Right.
That PP is so tiny that I assumed it was fake until this moment.
No, that's a real PP. It was cold, Ed.
So
it's October.
Still, man, that is such a tiny little guy.
Yeah. Which is, that might play into how, the gentleman has not came forward.
I don't blame. That's my point. I don't fucking blame him. I wouldn't either.
Apparently, like, the dude got drunk because he was like real, like, I don't know if I should do this, but I think he needed the $200, right? And he was like, oh, I'm wearing a fucking mask, so who cares? Here's the thing. So even though he never came forward, you can kind of see him in the movie. The scene where Paul and Angela are at the beach, you can see somebody in the far background that appears to be taking off their clothes. That's him.
Oh.
Yeah, he like accidentally is in the background of a shot. But yeah, never came forward, but that's a real college age man wearing a mask of Felicia's face.
That's showbiz, baby.
Yeah. Filming was fairly smooth for most of the movie, with the exception of a couple minor injuries and one broken heart. The injuries were all like, there was the scene with the boat when it gets flipped over and stuff. The one kid like cut his hand, stuff like that. But it seems that while they were filming, 13-year-old Felicia ended up with a crush on 17-year-old Jonathan.
Oh no.
This turned into a bit of a relationship.
Oh no.
Now, apparently it never went past kissing due to the age gap. But there was definitely an acknowledged relationship between them that both of them have openly talked about. The director openly talks about how it all went wrong and almost ruined his movie. So they brought in a bunch of SAG extras for filming a few of the scenes that required a bunch more kids, right? Like the bus scenes and shit like that, where there's like a lot of kids. And Jonathan ended up hooking up with one of the SAG extras. This caused a huge issue with Felicia's little 13-year-old heart.
Oh, no.
Yeah, where it was broken, and there were like obvious issues between them on set. And Robert Hiltzik ended up taking them bowling and made them figure shit out. And apparently it was okay from there. But yeah, Sleepaway Camp almost fell victim to a pretty questionable relationship.
Can you imagine if they had to shut down the movie?
Yeah, because a 17-year-old was diddling his 13-year-old co-star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this movie's fucking gross.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, everybody's like, oh, well, the movie's questionable with, like, the storyline. I don't know. I think the movie might have been more questionable with, like, the making of the movie. Let's talk about the saga of the mustache on Frank the Cop. When he filmed his first scene in this movie, Alan Brayton had a real deal stash. However, in between that and him having to come back, he landed another role that required him to shave it off. So they decided the solution was to give him that incredibly believable mustache that he has at the end of it. I don't know that there's ever been a worse fake. Like, Groucho Marx didn't have a less believable mustache.
Maybe like with Justice League, they didn't want to go the fake mustache route because like Zack Snyder was like, oh no, man, like I've seen Sleepaway Camp. You ever seen this fake mustache? Like,
yeah, it's not gonna work.
Let's just CGI a plain lip on you.
So the emergency vehicles that were in the movie were supplied by the Glens Falls Police Department and ambulances, including the police uniform. Do you know who the chief of the Glens Falls police force was?
I couldn't know.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan's dad.
No shit.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Alan, Mustache Cop, said when he checked the gun that he was given at one point for his costume, it was real and it was loaded.
Oh my god.
The cops just gave him a real fucking gun.
Jesus Christ.
Now, luckily, it never, like, you never had to use it in the movie. Like, it was absolutely just an accessory, but, like, come on.
You can't, yeah, why would you have a loaded gun on set?
Yeah, what irresponsible dipshit gave him the fucking sidearm? You know what I mean? Like, here, use it in the movie, pal.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Special effects. Now, I know you just said earlier that you thought the special effects were not very good in this movie. I disagree. I think the special effects are, especially for the budget, pretty fucking good. Say what you will about the quality of the rest of the movie, but I think Ed French, the special effects master of this movie, did a pretty good job. And when we talk about the actual movie in a minute, we could talk about the individual special effects and shit. I just want to take a minute to say that this Ed French, not you, has been doing makeup since 1981. His film credits include Amityville 2, Chud, The Stuff, Creepshow 2, Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town, Terminator 2, Star Trek 6, Hellraiser Bloodline, and he did return to Sleepaway Camp. And that's a great horror and sci-fi resume, right? But he also did effects in a bunch of non-horror films that are amazing. He worked in comedy. And in those films, his credits include Walk Hard, the Tim and Eric Crimbus special.
Okay, yeah.
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And maybe his most impressive film. More impressive to me than like, oh, you were a makeup artist on Terminator 2. More impressive than like, I love The Stuff and Chud. Those are great fucking movies. Have amazing special effects. He did White Chicks.
Oh, fucking shit. Oh, fuck. I hate this guy now. I hate everyone involved in that movie. I think that's possibly the worst movie ever made.
It is. It is possibly the worst movie ever made. With what is just goddamn awful makeup.
Yeah, that movie fucking sucks, and everyone involved in it should be fucking ashamed of themselves.
And it has a direct tie to Sleepaway Camp.
Gross. I fucking hate the Wayans brothers so much, man. Like, it's undescribable how shit. Like, I think they are Rob Schneider level of, like, shit. I don't think they do anything, like, I guess, like, Keenan Ivory Wayans is dope, right? And, like, Damon. But, like, I'm talking about Sean and Marlon, I think, are irredeemably bad in everything they've ever done.
Yeah, I think I always feel bad when people say, like, oh, the Wayans brothers suck. Because, like, no, the Wayans brothers don't suck. The young Wayans brothers suck. Like, Keenan Ivory Wayans is responsible for a ton of funny shit in the 80s and in Living Color. But, yeah, the other two who made, like, Scary Movie and shit, yeah, I'm not into them.
Fucking worst.
Fucking white chicks. What's the one where they're the baby? The one's a baby?
Okay, so the only reason I know this is because at Kling Thing, a DIY show house in Akron, they have a poster up of it. It's Little Man.
There you go, Little Man. So a big thing with the kills in this movie is there's almost no blood. And that was done on purpose. Robert didn't think the film needed it. And really, I think the kills are creative enough that I never cared that there wasn't blood in this movie. Did you?
I never even really thought about it until you said it.
Yeah,
it kind of isn't. Yeah, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't matter. So that's the making of this movie. There's not like I dug up everything I could find about the making of it. There's a lot of like tight-lippedness around it. I don't know if it's on purpose or just maybe there wasn't a lot of shit that went down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about how like there were times on set where it felt very much like they were at camp and like that the kids did have like a lot of fucking fun making the movie. But yeah, that's that. The movie gets released on November 18th, 1983. Now, I have heard a few people say that it beat Amityville 3D that week, which was the #1 movie, beating out A Christmas Story. Thing about that is, I can't find any box office records to back that up. Like, the director has said it. Actors in the movie have said it. On the How Did This Get Made, they said it. I'm sure referencing that the fucking director said that. Not one goddamn record can I find that says that actually happened. So I'm going to go with a strong might have. Records show its total box office was 11 million.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, for a movie that cost $335,000 to make, $11 million. Additionally, like I think he put this movie out kind of on his own. You know, like the releasing company for Sleepaway Camp is United Film Distribution Company, production company American Eagle Films. So I think with this movie, he banked a lot of fucking money off this movie. this one and only movie.
Maybe that's why he never made more. He's like, I got my money, I'm good.
So he talked about that a little bit, and he said that like he had some deals lined up with studios where he was supposed to get to make some other films, but as things happened, he ended up starting a family with his wife, and it just ended up his life took a different route, and he just didn't end up being a director after he made Sleepaway Camp and went to school to be a director.
Yeah, kids will do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the problem with bringing a human life into the world is, most of the time you got to take care of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. They really want you to.
Yeah,
the kid wants you to. The government wants you to. Like your own humanity wants you to. So basically, you're a real piece of shit if you don't. But so speaking of kids, young Felissa, boy, so many things young Felissa did that I would not have done. Felissa took her entire 8th grade class to see this movie.
What?
Appropriate response. Here's the thing. A, it's rated R. Now,
Oh my God.
on a side note, when the MPAA called Robert to tell him it was getting an R, they said sorry. And like they felt bad. Like, we've got to give it an R. And his response to them was, you think I wanted to put out a PG horror film? Because there was no PG-13 at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the other thing. If you know what this movie is like, why would you take your class full of early 80s 13-year-olds to it?
Because you want to fucking brag that you're in it, dude. But, I don't. But
and then have them all talk about how you actually have a pee-pee.
Yeah, I'm sure she wasn't. So, 13, dude, you're thinking you can talk your way. Like, she'd be like, well, that's not me. That's a mask of me. But, yeah, I think we both know that that's not what happened, right?
No. I think
fun of her.
I think kids were pretty brutal to her.
Yeah.
She doesn't talk about it a lot. She's actually in the process of making a documentary called Angela that is supposed to go a little more in depth into this movie. So I might have picked a bad time to actually choose to cover it, but fuck it. That's fine. But yeah, that's a questionable choice. Also, what movie theater was like, yeah, class full of 13-year-olds, you can come in and watch Sleepaway Camp?
That's probably some small town shit, right? Or some local shit. I
don't know. They all lived around New York, New Jersey.
It's the 80s, brother.
I guess. Here's the thing. The box office for this movie, be it what it was, doesn't really fucking matter. Its real home was the video rental store. Sleepaway Camp was a fixture in horror sections throughout the 80s and 90s. And a big part of its success, in my opinion, was the box art by David Schleinkoffer. That might be the best movie box art ever.
What's the box art? Because we bought it, my friend group bought it off eBay from a closing down video rental store. So we got it in the plastic case.
You didn't get the sleeve?
No.
Do you not know what the poster looks like?
No, I've never seen it.
Dude, look it up right now. Just type Sleepaway Camp poster. Now, you're going to get some bad DVD ones that have a questionable artistic take on Felissa Rose.
Yeah, but we're talking about the Adidas with the knife through it, right?
We sure fucking are.
Okay.
With the letter that trails off that's Dear Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. How fucking good is that?
That's a good 80s horror poster, man.
I remember being a kid in the 80s and going into video stores, and I would always look at that poster. It was and I would always pick up the box and fucking look at the box and read the back and read that fucking letter and how it trails off. That movie poster is so important to me in my childhood. And I just don't know that there's another piece of box art from that time that's as impactful as that.
It's your Silence of the Lambs.
Is that what Silence of the Lambs was like for you?
Yeah, which keep in mind that I've never seen. I just when I think of the local video store in my town, I see that Silence of the Lambs cover because I remember always being I want to watch that when I was 6 or 7, and my mom and dad would be like, no, absolutely not. But I remember, the Silence of the Lambs, just looking at it, trying to figure out what the fuck is happening on the cover of that. Is that a butterfly with a skull on it? Just being completely enthralled by that movie cover.
Yeah, dude, that's 100% how this was for me. There were a few movie posters from that time period and box art that I was oh man, that one, and I would look at it and obsess over it. But Sleepaway Camp was way above all the rest. I just love that image. There was actually a secondary image that I'm so glad they didn't pick, which was sort of the same idea. It was still a knife, but there was no shoe. It was still the letter, but it was a picture of 4 kids at camp in short shorts and white t-shirts with the knife stabbed through it that he did. And they chose the other one, obviously, because if you see that other one, you go, well, yeah, that's my fucking movie poster.
Yeah.
So that same dude didn't like. It's so weird. Like I looked him up because I was like, he made this fucking amazing art. What else has he done, right? Like he had to do a bunch of other ones that I'm just not aware of, right? No.
Yeah.
No. He fucking made that. He also made one other iconic piece of art. He's the guy that did the original art for the Generation 1 Transformers boxes with the weird looking Optimus Prime, and like that art was put on, like when I was a kid, it was on blankets, it was on like little trays that you would eat off of, like TV trays and lunch boxes and fucking everywhere. He did that art of like all of the Transformers like fighting in space.
Okay.
But then that's also the only thing like that he ever did.
Did you have a TV tray ever growing up?
Yeah, I had that TV tray.
That one? All right.
Yeah.
I had a Power Rangers one. I know that's pretty shocking.
I am floored. I cannot believe that you would have Power Rangers. But yeah, that art, that guy. I tried to reach out to him, and I sent him a couple of messages, but he never responded. I had questions. I just wanted to know how much he got paid. Because he, like, to me, like, the success of that movie in video stores is it's him, right? Like, the movie's whatever. The movie's fine. But, like, the thing that made people walk over to that, like, people didn't know about the ending of this movie. People didn't know shit about this movie going into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the first time you watch this movie, if you're in a video store, you walk through the aisle and you went, oh, look at that fucking box.
I guess that's a thing, like, I never really thought about, is, like, you had to have dope-ass box art back then, because it's not like people could just look up your trailer to see, like, what your movie is about. Like, it was literally, like, judging by the cover and the back of it.
Yeah, it was almost the same as, like, a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just kind of look at it, this looks like it could be good. It would give you a little synopsis on the back, and there'd be, like, depending on who did the layout, like, maybe 2 pictures, like, 2 screenshots, sometimes, like, 4, like, 1 maybe in each corner. Sometimes it was just like 1 big one. But yeah, box art was a huge deal. It became less of a deal with like DVDs. And then now it's I don't even know that it matters other than for like collectors. Who I say this, like Ed Battis I know does, but like who buys physical media now?
Summers.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's buying VHSs, get a VHS collection.
Oh, that's different. That's buying vintage. But I'm saying like current like Blu-rays and shit.
Oh.
Like,
do they still make Blu-rays?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh yeah, they do. So that's it for the making of Sleepaway Camp. There were sequels. You mentioned them earlier. Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. Do you want to know what they're about, Ed?
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, the way those movies go is that Angela has a full-on sex change and becomes a woman.
What the fuck?
And is a female counselor who kills people. Like, the cover of the second one is her with a backpack that has, like, Freddy's glove and Jason's mask in it.
Bruce Springsteen's sister, right?
Pamela Springsteen, yeah.
That's the only thing I know about that movie.
Yep. So Felissa Rose actually auditioned for those movies, but Pamela Springsteen was the guy who directed those movies, like Friend, and it was always his plan to have her, so it didn't work out. Like, she didn't get to keep playing Angela. She got to play Angela again and return to Sleepaway Camp. But yeah, that's that with the sequels. There was a Sleepaway Camp 4 that never really got made. It had a bunch of releases on like DVD. There was a box set, a pretty famous Sleepaway Camp box set that the original version of it that I have had the Red Cross on it. And then the American Red Cross said, hey, Anchor Bay, fuck you. You can't put our logo on this box set. And Anchor Bay was like, goddamn right we can't, and changed the box to just have blood all over it. And so, yeah. That's the story with that. So Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Is this movie transphobic?
Yeah, of course it is. What do you mean? Yeah, they're all horrified by the idea of like a trans person, and she's a trans person because she drove fucking insane as a child. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's horrible actually.
So I put some thought into this, and like, hear me out on this. And again, so two straight white dudes talking about whether or not this is transphobic, questionable. Maybe not as questionable as the actual movie, but questionable. But hear me out on this. Is she actually trans?
You mean because like she didn't get to make that choice herself?
Correct.
Okay.
She's just being forced. This is more of just like the story of someone who's been bullied and tortured after a traumatic experience.
Now it's sad.
Right? And like, she continues to get bullied. Gets bullied through the whole movie.
The entire movie, yeah. Like,
and then she kills the only person who's nice to her that's not related to her.
Yeah, but he's also kind of a creep too, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But he's Ricky's best friend. But so, yeah, I'm not sure if it's transphobic. I will say this though. Think about the fact that it's 1983, right?
Yeah.
And you have a movie that's main storyline is, from what I can piece together, there is a man with two children whose wife has passed away. Are we in agreement on that? Is that what's happened?
Yes. Great. So we're going to get into this part now. What happens at the beginning?
So his wife is dead, right? Are we on the same page?
agree with you. Yes. Wife is dead.
They are having a boat day.
Yes.
Across from Camp Arawak. And he is there with his gay lover.
Yes.
Okay. So we are on the same page with how this movie starts out.
Yes.
And then irresponsible boat boy and girl hit them, kill him, kill the girl.
Yes.
The boy lives.
Yes.
And goes to live with Dr. Aunt Martha Thomas.
Yes.
Now, the gay lover that was on the beach.
Yes.
Is he just a gay lover? Anonymous gay lover?
Or is he
Aunt Martha's husband?
His husband, yes. I don't know. And that is my confusion, too.
I don't either. Like, so there's that theory that, like, when there's the scene later in the movie where the kids see the two of them, also the foreshadowing in this movie is so forced. All those black, like, all the, like, and the boy and the girl pointing at each other and all the, oh man.
Yeah.
Like,
he
once
really thought he was doing something with that.
You know what I mean? Boy, did he ever. But yeah, so here's the thing, like, the storyline through this is not like anti-gay, which for the 80s is fucking wild. You know, I don't see where it is.
Yeah, or it might be anti-gay. Like,
is it? See, that's the conundrum of Sleepaway Camp for me, is I'm not sure.
It's because they're treating the dad and the gay lover like they are treated like weirdos, right?
Yeah, I guess they are.
That they're weirdos. Like, that's a thing they should be ashamed of, and it's weird.
You're right. You're absolutely right. They had to hide it. But did they have to hide it from Aunt Martha because that's his wife? Or did they have to, and it's infidelity? Or did they have to hide it because they were gay?
Yeah. I don't know. But they never say the gay lover is the uncle. They never even imply it. Is that just supposed to be a thing we're supposed to pick up? These shouldn't be questions because there is a script. You know what I mean?
There is, but I don't know that it ever addressed it. And that's an interesting topic, is that most of the cast had no clue about that through line to this movie.
So they didn't read the script.
I don't know that all that stuff was in the full script that was given to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the How Did This Get Made episode about this movie?
I have. Yeah.
That argument about what even happens at the beginning of it is probably like one of my favorite podcasting moments ever.
Well, because I don't know his name, and I feel horrible that I don't know his name, but the dude who was Rafi on
Jason Mantzoukas.
Jason Mantzoukas is so convinced he's right, and he's so wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
And they just keep correcting him, and he's like, no.
It's wild. But also it shouldn't be that confusing. You know what I mean?
No, none of this should be that confusing.
It's the first scene in the movie. It should, out of anything else, this should make the most sense, right?
Yeah. And here's the other thing. And so I have probably seen this movie. I'm gonna go on the low side and say I've seen this movie 30 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if I just never fucking, like, if I've always been, like, just a little tuned out right at the beginning of the movie. But I never noticed that it opens the way it does with, like, the shut down camp.
I guess it is shut down.
Yeah, it starts at the end for just, like, a minute and then goes to the boat scene.
Huh.
I also love that you can tell in the shot where the boat is coming at the camera that it's like either dummies or different people.
It's totally dummies. It's definitely dummies.
I also really love the artistic choice of them cutting to the gay lover on the beach going, John. Like the girl in the water is screaming her ass off like the water skier.
That is the best little actress in this whole fucking movie. That's how you react if you see someone get fucking run over by a boat. That is how you do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she is losing her fucking mind. And that dude who just watched his lover die goes, John.
Fucking wild.
I love it. I love that shit about this movie. But so I don't know. If anybody does know, if anybody from that community has opinions on this, please let me know, let us know. By all means, we're not the people to make the decisions on whether or not this movie is offensive or not. I feel like maybe it was made with the best intentions, but turned out wrong. I don't know. But like, to me, the through line that I read is like, here's this boy who sees his father die and then goes to live with an insane person who forces him to dress like a girl and be a girl. And then he just gets bullied and tortured until he can't take it anymore and he kills people.
Yeah. Yep. I think you nailed it.
So I don't know if in all of that it makes this movie like transphobic or homophobic. But I think if it is, it's maybe unintentional, but I don't know. What I do know is those Camp Airwax shirts rule, and I don't know why nobody has made those. I've never seen those as an item anywhere, but somebody should bootleg the fuck out of those.
Dude, it's right up there with the Jeff Beebe Experience shirt of like, how has nobody made a bootleg version of this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe it's because people don't buy white shirts.
I can tell you from like doing a podcast to produce shirts, it's a thing that comes up. How nobody wears white shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, white shirts. I don't know if it's like people are just like, yeah, it's like an undershirt, so I'm not going to wear that.
Dude, I love white shirts. I wish we would too.
You should do one. Fuck it. It's your show.
Yeah, it is.
So, man, you go from that, you go to Aunt Martha and the weird house scene with, you heard the audio from it earlier, of her singing, like sing-song, talking to them, and her bizarre delivery. Like, her whole little piece of this movie is just, so you go from that bananas fucking boat scene to then that. That's a hell of a fucking 1-2 punch to open a movie.
And you're not turning it off, you know what I mean? Like,
no. You double down at that point. You're like, holy fuck, what is this? And so then it cuts right to like them getting to the camp, right? And those kids are just like running off the buses, running full tilt down the hill, right? And the whole time, Mel and one of the camp counselors is yelling instructions at those kids. There is zero chance any kid heard shit all those dudes said.
Are we going to start picking apart things like this in the movie? Because I have one written down.
Yeah, have at it. Because this movie's full of them.
When the pedophile cook gets boiled alive, right? The boiling water.
Yeah.
He clearly has functioning vocal cords. Why doesn't he say, it was that little bitch Angela? She fucking pulled this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everybody in the movie is like, it's you.
Yeah,
what are
dude.
you doing here? Which I'm sure was like a device to push the like who done it piece of this, but it makes it 100% like, that's not how anybody would ever react to someone who was showing up to possibly kill them.
No, you wouldn't. It's you. It's it could be worse though. There's that, to tie this into old professional wrestling, when they did aces and eights and they were trying to figure out who was letting them in the impact zone in TNA. Yeah. Kurt Angle unmasks the one, and he's like, "Oh, it's you! Why is it you? What are you doing?" And then the next week. That's the cliffhanger, right?
Yeah.
But the next week, Kurt Angle comes out, right, to say who it was, and like aces and eights come out, and a bunch of road agents come out to like break up the fight, and one of them is D'Lo Brown, who it fucking was, and Kurt Angle isn't saying like D'Lo, it was D'Lo, or he's pointing and going, you, that's him, you. But there's like a group of people there.
That's why TNA was not good.
Don't let Josh Bishop hear this. We'll be so mad.
No, I love TNA, but I love TNA the same way I love Sleepaway Camp. Like, it was TNA. I liked it, but it wasn't that good. I liked XPW too. Loved XPW. It was awful in the best possible way. Yeah, man. So like that. Let's talk about the fucking boiling scene though. Let's talk about that guy, that character, the character arc of that guy. He says a line in this movie that the ramifications of that line are wild. He says, "We called them baldies where I come from."
Yeah, what the fuck?
Suggesting that there's a place where everyone is a pedophile.
That is true. Oh my God. Holy fuck, what an awful place to live.
Right?
Dude, speaking of that guy in that scene, when he comes out, when there's two children running out of there screaming, and he comes out buckling his belt.
Yeah.
And they're like, what happened? And like, what do you mean what happened? It's pretty fucking clear what happened.
And like, I think we're just supposed to believe that Ben is like too like to or like, oh, that's just him. And then Mel's just like, well, I'm making money, so if a kid gets raped, whatever. Because like Mel clearly has no scruples. Like people die, and he's like, hey, can we make this shit go away? Because I've got parents that aren't going to be happy about it.
He's the and I haven't seen this movie either, but I know this is what it is. He's the mayor in Jaws.
Yeah, pretty much. He kept his wardrobe, by the way. He liked it enough that he kept it.
That's great.
So like we were talking about special effects earlier, and you talked about like dude getting boiled and whatever. That giant pot for corn, which doesn't exist in real life, they had to make. Like that's 100% prop. That doesn't exist. Because no one makes corn that way. That's not a thing. That's never been a thing. It will never be a thing.
Listen, you've never had to make corn for like 20 campers. Because there's not a lot of let's be honest, there's not a lot of campers there.
No, there's not. Like, even at the most, like, even at the point where there's, like, the tons of kids running off, there's maybe 40 kids there. Maybe 40 kids.
Yeah, that doesn't that's not enough kids to cook a 4-foot tall
No. No, and if anything, you would make like a shorter, wider cauldron kind of thing.
Yeah, can you imagine how long that would have to cook and how much you'd have to stir?
Yeah. Yeah, that's never the way it would happen. The special effect for him getting boiled, though, did look really good.
What?
You don't think that looks good?
Oh, that looked awful.
Oh, man, his skin, like, bubbles. You can see, like, there's all the little air pockets that blister and stuff. It's all wet. They used... Oh, man.
We have two different, like, comparison points on this, though, because, like, you watch a lot of these movies, right? So, like, in comparison to other things, it probably does look good. But as someone that doesn't watch a lot of 80s media in general, I can only compare to things that I've seen, which would be, like, newer shit, and that looked awful.
Well, fair. I think it looks good. But yeah, so that guy he dies because he's a piece of shit, right? Yeah. That's another theme that goes through this movie. Is you're a dirty piece of shit, you die, or you bully Angela, you die. Mean to Angela means dead.
That's how Chris Chan thinks too.
It is. Boy, the parallels. So, other kills in this movie. Are there any that you like? Are there any that you think look cool?
No.
Not one? What about the arrow?
I think the curling iron thing's funny.
The curling iron thing's funny, and apparently was supposed to be way more graphic.
Oh, how?
How do you mean how?
Oh, never mind. Yeah, I guess you would see it. Yeah, I guess that's how.
Yeah. Which is why Jane Krakowski was like, nah, I'm a peace out. I don't need to get fucked with a curling iron in this movie. Thanks.
I'll tell you what kill I have a problem with is the wasp one. I don't think that would kill you.
Oh, what if he's like allergic? I mean, that was like a lot of bees.
But they don't say that. But it's a movie. You put that in there. You know what I mean?
So many bees.
Yeah, but you're gonna crawl out from under. Like the stall door didn't go to the ground. You're gonna.
Yeah, that's a problem, right? Like also when you see them push like when the fucking little bindle on a stick fucking beehive gets pushed through the window, there's no bees flying around it at all because there's no bees in that little beehive. But he is like covered in bees.
Yeah, his whole fucking face.
But like apparently it paralyzed him because he didn't crawl out from under the door or anything.
I guess.
Or just bust through it. Isn't that one of the times where they just put like a fucking broom handle through the door?
Yeah, dude, it's a broom handle.
Yeah, give it a hard kick, dude. It's gonna go. But then I guess that doesn't, help make the movie work. Like, oh, he got away, and now he can tell people that it was that, bitch Angela that made him get covered in bees. I think the questionable kill in this movie, like, so most of these people had been shitty to Angela, and so they die, right?
Yeah.
Like the kid who's like, why are you so fucked up? And then he dies. That kill, he looks cool in the end with like the shit crawling out of his head and stuff. You disagree, clearly. But like the kill to me that's questionable is the little kids. Like they threw sand at her.
I guess. I don't know.
They're little kids. They just threw sand. They didn't like bully you. They threw sand.
Yeah, they could have done a little more. Like, I guess now thinking about it, like, yeah, they could have spit on her or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they just threw some sand at her. You die. You threw sand, you fucking die. The softball game or the baseball game.
Yeah.
Boy, that goes on for a long time.
Yeah, it does. What does he call him? He's like, get the shoulder, get the bat off your shoulder. And he calls him, like, eat shit, motherfucker.
Oh, no, man, that's the best line in any movie ever. So look, this movie, maybe you might not think the effects look good. It might have a storyline that makes possibly no sense. But if there's one thing that was done right in this movie, it is one line, and that is, eat shit and die, Ricky. Eat shit and live, Bill.
Well, you shit and live, yeah. Dude, this movie is like A+ at swears. Like,
oh, it's real good at swears. It's good at swears and tiny shorts.
Yeah, man.
It is good at both of those things. Like nut huggers and swears, it's fucking top notch. Also, I like that baseball game that goes on forever. Like the kids who you don't think should win.
Yeah.
And, like there's that fucking. I also like the part that like the one kid Mozart is just playing that little handheld video game and like should be like if typecast like, oh no, the ball's gonna go to him and he's gonna make a mistake because he's uncoordinated dork. And he's like, I caught it. Fuck it. Now back to my game.
You can tell the way that's shot too. They just fucking throw that ball to him.
Yeah.
So then he turns that double play quick though.
He does. He really does. Skills on that kid. Real skills. He apparently kind of got bullied on the set too. The kid who played Mozart. And one of the guys who played like the dude who was like the real ripped fucking counselor.
Yeah.
Like came to his defense. Like parallel to what happens in the fucking movie.
He said, you quit picking on him or I'll fuck you up. I'm here.
Pretty much. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. So this movie, man, I fucking love it. It's bad, but like in the best way.
Yeah, it's definitely awful. And I definitely love it. It's right there. Like with the other movie, Night of the Creeps, like both of those movies made giant impacts on me because of how bad they are. Everything in this movie is pretty bad. Like the dialogue is so bad it's good. The acting is so bad it's good. Special effects, while I don't think they're great, I think they're so bad they're good. Like that Angela mask clearly inspired Batboy. So clearly inspired Bat. I don't even think this is a joke. That is clearly the inspiration for the face of Batboy.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, in every way. Like you just add a little bat nose and ears to it, and that is that face. Dude, this movie is fucking beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. So there's not a lot else to say about it, man. I'm glad that we got to talk about Sleepaway Camp. The next time that you're on a show talking to me, it is about movies. It's not going to be on this show. It's going to be on Askew.
Yes.
The next episode of Askew is going to be Chasing Amy. The episode after that is going to be Jersey Girl with you and me.
Ooh, because nobody else likes this. We're the only one. Then they're wrong. We're right and they're wrong.
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about it because I think both of our opinions of Jersey Girl are pretty similar. And it's topical because it's kind of a thing again.
Yeah. Go get him, Ben. Yeah. I know he's listening.
And then there will be at some point in the next, who knows, another episode of Superchantastic. So those are all things that you can hear Ed on. Ed, there are other things people can hear you on. What are those things?
Can hear me on PodVanDam because this will come out in the new season every Wednesday. And I'm sure we'll still be talking about wrestling Twitter. I sure we'll still be doing voicemails. I don't know past that what the plans are.
I kind of like that you have a show coming up next week and you don't really fucking know.
Yeah. I guess we should talk about it.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a plan you guys should have.
We should figure that out.
There was a campaign that happened for Ed. I appreciate everybody out there who chimed in with it with me to get young Ed on Between the Sheets to talk about Dude Love. That's happening, right? When's that episode come out? After this, probably, right?
I record it next week, and it'll probably be out the week after. So yeah, in like 2 weeks from this recording day, probably.
Okay, so like late July of 2021.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about the wrestling world in 1997 at that time, which is when I got super into wrestling. So it's a very fun time period for me. I'm very excited. Get to talk to Chris and Bix, and then I get to hopefully Mick Foley will hear it and know that I was not being a dick to him. And I was not.
That
being
has really
funny.
bothered you, man.
Yeah, I wasn't being funny. That Dude Love is genuinely the reason that I am a giant wrestling fan. Yeah, man, it bothered me because I faced everyone else has a nice Mick Foley story when they met him, and I'm the only one that doesn't. He's like my fucking hero. Like,
yeah, he was like miserable when I met him, and he was still nice.
Yeah, man. I even waited while he went over and talked to like Kevin Nash and somebody else at the table over beside him. Like, I waited. I was like, yeah, Mick, do your thing. I'm just some asshole. And then turns out he thinks I'm just some asshole.
Oh. Well, hopefully he listens to Between the Sheets and it'll redeem you a little bit.
I'm sure he will.
So I want to talk about one more thing with you because you're on more shows on this channel than anybody besides me.
Yeah.
So because there are extra shows now, I had to increase the level that I am at my hosting to accommodate for storage, right?
Word.
With that came statistics that I hadn't had before, and I genuinely never really looked at the stats for any of my shows. I would see them when I would log in because they're there on the thing, and I'd be like, oh, that's nice, numbers. But I don't really care. I don't care. I'm never the person who's like, hey, everybody, could you guys like and subscribe and post a thing? And like, I don't know, if people like it, they're going to do it. If they're not going to do it, and me telling them to do it ain't going to make a difference, so I'm not going to do it, right? So without effort, Ed, you and I have had a fan base, not a fan base, I don't know if they're fans, listenership that is pretty fucking amazing to me. I'm going to pull it up right now. Okay. Ed.
Yeah.
I have the map of the world in front of us. Now, the majority of our listenership is from the United States.
Okay.
Can you guess where the second biggest listenership is?
I'm trying to think of what ours was because it was somewhere really random in the Middle East, and I can't think of what it. Iran.
It's India.
India. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Like a lot, dude.
Yeah.
Like a fucking wild lot in India.
That makes sense. They speak.
But
English is spoken over there.
Yeah, I guess so. We have one listener in Iceland.
Ooh, well, fucking tweet in.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that Iceland listener is not for this show. It's for Chantastic. So we'll have to talk about that on Chantastic. They only listen to Chantastic.
That's great.
That is the same story with our singular South Korean listener.
That's Liquid Chris. That's where he lives now with Casey.
So yeah, man, we've got listeners like all over Europe. It's crazy. Like South America, Canada, Thailand, Australia. So some of it's for Chantastic, some of it's for this. We got some Russian listeners. So it blew my mind. I had no fucking idea that dopey conversations I have with my friends were being listened to by people all over the world. So
sometimes you get to find out really weird shit too. Like we had for like several weeks a dude in San Jose who listened to like episodes like 34 times.
Wow.
Which my best guess is like he didn't listen to them like 34 times all the way through. Like he would start it and stop it and then start it again. But like he didn't have them downloaded probably, so it'd be like a play every time.
Right.
But yeah, it was like consistently like in the mid 30s to 40s every episode from this one dude in San Jose.
Good for that dude, man. Bumping them numbers.
But
yeah, man. So the reason I bring all that up wasn't to be like, hey, we have all these listeners, but it was more to just be able to be like, hey, man, thanks to anybody who listens to any of this shit, because I personally never had any intention for like folks in Russia or India, or like it never dawned on me that anybody would care. So good for you on taking a chance at listening to my dopey ass talk to people about horror movies and Chris Chan and Kevin Smith.
And to that Korean listener, say Gam Sahabinda. That's thank you, apparently. Gam Sahabinda.
And to that Korean listener, I apologize for Ed butchering your language.
Annyeong.
Oh, shit. So this is horror movies, and the next episode we are still going to be at camp. We are going a little bit out of the original order that was intended because of a day that is coming up. So there is an episode that comes out on a certain day whenever that day exists. You can figure that out if you look at your calendars, and that will tell you what the next episode of horror movies is.
When I look into your eyes, it comes as no surprise. You're slipping away, and yeah, you're the love of my life. It's so cold at night, I'm begging you to stay. I know it's all a masquerade. I know you're not afraid. You're just what I've been looking for. No other boy can love you more. You're the only girl I adore. You're just what I've been looking for. Time, man, your broken heart just don't fall apart. The truth will hold inside. And yeah, I don't wanna let you go. I don't wanna let them know the pain you have to hide. I know it's all a big charade. I know you're not afraid. No, you're just what I've been looking for. No other boy can love you more. You're the only girl I adore. You're just what I've been looking for. Just what I'm looking for. Just what I've been looking for. No other boy will love you more. You're the only girl I adore. You're just what I've been looking for. You're just what I